Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. You know how much I love our musical guests. And today we have Steve Drizos.
Yeah,
Did I do it?
you did.
Oh
Yes.
my God, thank you for telling me that. Because you know it's going to be Drizos.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. So Steve Drizos is with us. We're going to talk about his band, which he's going to tell you the name about in a minute. We're going to talk about his music and, of course, creating a world outside comfort, your comfort zone, which is such a cool topic. Great guy, tons of musical background, and he's going to sing for us, perform for us, I guess is the correct word these days, live at the end of the show. Welcome, my friend. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Ted. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited, and I got to give kudos to Alex, who apparently coordinates things, and Alex was amazing and patient and so helpful. So kudos to Alex from In Music We Trust, I think for some reason is the name of the email
That's
that
correct.
I get it from. All right, so enough about me and Alex. Let's talk about you. Tell us a little origin story. You know, people love to know where you came from, kind of your journey to realizing you wanted to do music as your passion in life.
Sure. Currently, I am based out of Portland, Oregon. I moved here in 2004. I am from upstate New York originally. My musical origins, my father was a drummer, a big music fan, big rock fan. So really early influences and exposure. I was really fortunate to have a lot of support growing up playing music.
Oh, yeah, because he understood. He understood the passion. You weren't a child who didn't have a parent who understood music.
Yeah, and I think he was in bands when he was younger and kind of put it aside to raise a family. So I think he kind of lived vicariously through me when I decided I wanted to drop out of college and start touring as a job. And both my parents, they weren't surprised. They knew that that's what I was always going to do. I feel really fortunate in my passion and my career path. It was always really clear to me, even at a really young age. There was no plan B. It was just felt like this is what I'm supposed to do.
I love that. And that's such a blessing because so many people still struggle in their 40s, 50s, and beyond and never really tap into what their passion is.
I know. And I feel like I appreciate it so much. The older I get, the more I appreciate the situation. And so, yeah, just absolutely blessed with that scenario. So here I am I'll be 48 next month. And I've been able to carve out a life playing music and create.
48. You're young looking. So tell me about so it's one thing to have a passion for music. How did you determine what that meant? Because you can embrace music as a whole, as a genre, but playing an instrument, drums, for example, or performing, how did you kind of find your way or cut your niche out?
Ever since I was young, performing in elementary school, orchestras and bands, playing in front of audiences, it always felt just really natural to me. But that said, it was always comfortable being sort of not in the spotlight. Playing drums, playing the supporting role was something that I always just felt comfortable doing. On the side, I played guitar and wrote songs as a sort of just, especially when I was a brooding teenager no one understood what I was going through. So I had to put it into song, but it was always something for personal consumption only. And with this record, Axiom, that I just released, it was the first time of me being sort of front and center, singing, playing guitar. Was it hard?
Is it hard for you still to be front and center?
I don't know yet, because this record.
I love that answer.
This record was created in my studio, so it was a very controlled, insular environment. And with releasing it during a pandemic, I haven't had the opportunity to play it in front of an audience. I've been doing live streams, but so I don't know yet. I'm still terrified of it.
Well, that's it. I think terrified can be good, can be motivating, but it is different. I think people don't understand. It's one thing to create in the studio, but then the whole performance, the whole entertainment side of it, the expressing your emotions live to people is a whole different game. Did you collaborate on your album? Did you write songs with people? And if you did, how was that during the pandemic?
In the beginning, I did not. This record started about 4 years ago. Long process. And in the beginning, I mean, I'm such a control freak that I wanted to, I had this picture of me like mad scientist in the studio, and I'd crawl out with the most amazing piece of art that anyone ever heard. And that is just simply not the case. So at the further along I got, I just got so lost in it that I needed help, just to bounce ideas off of people and kind of collaborate more. My wife is an incredible musician, and so she was a big help in helping me, get to the finish line of this thing.
And then where do you get inspired? I always like to ask that question. I know it's a generic one, but I think it's always important to figure out where the artist, like, do you look out at a tree like I'm looking at and that somehow moves you, or does it come a lot from personal experience?
This record comes from personal experience, and that's a really great question. I feel like when I was younger, really broke and, hungry, living out of a van in my 20s, touring the country, there was so much material to write about. I think you get older and things become a little maybe more secure and sort of stable in life. And it's like, well, where's the influence? What's inspiring me? For me personally, I got sober about 4 years ago, and that was
Congratulations.
a huge source of material for this record to sort of process what that is like, and all these sort of emotions kind of rush to the surface when you're going through something like that. And I decided to be really honest about the experience of going through early sobriety and what that feels like.
And sobriety, which a lot of people don't realize, you will, of course, is that sobriety, all of a sudden you're feeling things that you numbed for so long.
Absolutely.
It becomes there's this whole nother thing, and you have to learn how to feel it and not try to numb it. And it's an amazing, I have a master's degree in sort of that. So I worked a lot with addicts and with people in recovery. Oh, and so I just remember that sometimes it was the first time they had been clear in a very long time.
Yeah. And I think, listen, I'm certainly not the first musician or artist to have struggles with substance abuse. But I think it's a really common, I think, fear that you kind of are going to lose your edge, or, drugs and alcohol are sort of this fast track to creativity. And I was very much in that camp. So when I first picked up my guitar after being sober for a few months, and I just realized that the opposite was true. I had clarity. I was finishing songs and ideas for the first time in years. And it was just an amazing experience.
I love to hear those success stories. I have somebody I talked to yesterday who's at the beginnings of it. And of course, as you know, it can be a lifelong struggle. And it's a lifelong commitment to stay sober. Yeah. And so I feel like it's so good to talk about it. So thank you for being open about that. I think that will touch people. All right. Tell me about the band that I'm not going to try to do the name.
Well, the band, my quote unquote real job is playing drums with a band called Jerry Joseph and the Jackmormans. They're obviously a Portland-based band. They've been around since the mid '90s. I've been with them for about 10 years now, and so that's where I spend most of my time touring, making records with that band. I don't, the project that I just did. It's just under my name, Steve Drizos, and I also run a studio here in Portland called the Panther, which is where I'm from. Broadcasting.
That's where you're at. Okay, yeah, that's the Panther.
This is the Panther, and so really fortunate during the pandemic, when obviously touring came to a grinding halt. The studio business has been really good, so I'm extremely fortunate. Yeah,
that's excellent. I think a lot of people had to pivot, obviously. So I mean, most people had to figure out, how am I going to do what I normally do and not starve or lose my house. I mean, there were so many things going on, but people were looking for normalcy. I love the fact that you were still able to keep going, especially the arts. I feel like suffered so much during the pandemic because people weren't going out and spending money. So therefore, how were musicians and artists making any kind of money?
Right. And people still, even more so, had the need to create, and they needed somewhere to funnel that energy because they couldn't do it in front of an audience. And so the studio became a great place for people to come in and get off their chest what they were experiencing.
I love that. And then how do you describe your music?
You know,
on this particular record, on Axiom.
Record, it is.
Record.
Yeah, it's called Axiom. That's correct. That's right.
But do we still call it a record or an album?
I do.
Unfortunately. Okay, good.
I don't know what people younger than ourselves call it, but it's always records to me. This is unapologetically wearing my 90s rock influences on my sleeve. And which is funny because to me, the 90s was just, a couple months ago. And
no doubt, my friend.
And so it's just going back to some of my big influences of just big 90s rock music. And so musically, that's kind of where I was, the direction that I wanted to go with it. And then obviously, as I said before, lyrically, it's just about it's not more about the reasons behind why people use drugs and alcohol. They say that is a symptom of other things. So I didn't want to just talk about like, hey, I decided to put the bottle down or whatever, but to really talk about depression, anxiety, and the sort of the root causes of some of those, why people decide to self-medicate.
So tell us what you're going to perform.
This song I'm going to perform is called Softer Please. And it's sort of about having people, enablers in your life who have the best intentions for you, but at the end of the day aren't really helping you.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. All
right, I'm going to take me off, and then Steve Drizos is going to perform Softer Please. I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's on my record Axiom. You can go to stevedrizos.com and pick up the record and all sorts of merchandise there. So thank you very much. This is called Softer Please. On my hands and on my knees, if you need me. Stranger thoughts spin round my head, too much chemistry. Feel the gray skies creeping in without a sound. Will this winter break my fall? Will you be around? Always come to my defense with such eloquence. I could never let you see it was killing me. In this town, it all goes down if you play it right. So we find the ones we love, hold each other tight. Always come to my defense with such eloquence. I could never let you see it was killing me. Level best with the time that I have left to find the beauty in between the breaking waves of the extremes. On my hands and on my knees, I do believe you can get me on my feet. Little softer please, little softer please, little softer please.
I loved that. You know, I close my eyes a lot, which is another reason why I don't keep my face on too long while you're performing, because I really want to listen. I know you said 90s, but I swear to God, I thought Mick Jagger.
Oh, wow.
Just very Angie kind of, it just had that vocal to it. Beautiful.
Wow. Awesome. Well,
when you sing that, do you get emotional as an artist? Is there that song or any song that you sing where sometimes you're like, God, I'm going to get choked up here, because you're basically reliving a lot of feelings that you had and things that you went through?
Yeah, I do. It brings back that, that moment in time for me of just like, as you said earlier, that just that period of really just raw emotion. And so, yeah, it definitely takes me back, which is great. I don't ever want to forget that period.
Well, because then when you perform it, people feel it. That's the one thing. When I see a performance, I feel like they are literally going through the motions and they're not attached or present. I'm not either. And so I don't like to see somebody get up and just do a generic performance. I want to see the feelings that went into it. And that is not lacking in your performance. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much, Ted. I really.
All right, Softer Please is the name of the song. The album's Axiom. What's the best way for them to reach out to you, learn more about your music, learn if you're touring, learn where to get your music? How can they find you?
Well, SteveDrizos.com is the easiest way to do that. Steve Drizos. I have a Facebook music page. Instagram is Dex Drizos, DEXDRIZOS. So yeah, those are the three best ways to find out what I'm doing.
Well, anytime you want to come back and promote, let me know. Steve Drizos, SteveDrizos.com. That was Softer Please. You guys reach out and support our artists. They're all finally getting back into the swing of things. They've got a lot to say, and you guys know you get healed by this music. I've seen it. So thank you for being on the show. Thanks to Alex for being patient. And go check out all good stuff that Steve Drizos is doing. Thanks for being on the show, my friend. I appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, go out, get his music, support him. Steve Drizos.